Hello everybody and welcome to a new video. Today we are going over something a little bit more fun today. In tier lists past, we usually would go over meta updates and kind of, what's coming next, or maybe what's coming for Overwatch 2, which I might do a meta analysis on that when it comes out. But today we're going to be doing something on the more fun end. We're going to be rating each character in terms of which one is the hardest and which one is the easiest to learn, play, yada yada yada. We're generalizing completely. It's going to bring in a bunch of different factors like aim, macro play style, how hard it is to master this character, how easy it is to pick them up. But just a few things before I roll this out. I'm not moving my camera. You guys can still actually see everything. The S, A, B, C, D. S being the hardest, D being the easiest. And I do want to get right into this. I don't want to make this more than 20 minutes or so, but yeah, let's start this right off with, Ana. So here's the thing, right? A lot of players think that Ana is the hardest character to play in this game. But in my opinion, as an Ana player, like an Ana one trick almost, a specialist, I call myself. I honestly think Ana might be A tier and not S tier. I think there are harder characters. I mean, here's the thing with Ana, right? With Ana, you have to be able to aim, right? You have to be able to hit your sleep dart, your anti-nades, whatever. Sleep dart, though, isn't necessarily the hardest thing to hit because the hitbox is pretty big in terms of what you need to be hitting it on, like hogs and stuff, or even just like the hitbox itself is bigger than the dart itself. Anti-nades, they're very important to get over, but the thing is, it's like when Ana is good in meta, she's not really hard to play. In terms of like S tier, in terms of like really difficult understanding of the game. I think mechanically it is challenging, especially for console players. I mean, I came from console, she was very difficult on console. But in terms of like the overall distribution here, in terms of macro, the macro isn't that hard for Ana. I think it's pretty easy, you just get Nano, you Nano your monkey, you hit big purples, and you win game. I mean, that's pretty much how easy it is compared to like Zenyatta, who I think is a lot more difficult to understand in the different metas, but it's also dependent upon the metas that you're playing Ana in. If you're playing Ana into double shield, yeah, she's going to be S tier hard. But the thing is you shouldn't play Ana there, and that's, I mean, do I need to say more here? Again, this is all subjective, and we're just going over, which character is the hardest. I'm not sure yet. Let's go through this. We're 2.5 minutes in. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, like if you like it. Comment down below what you guys think, and let's keep moving on here. Ashe might be right up there with Ana. I think in terms of, maybe she might be a B tier. I think if you have to aim on a character, it almost immediately makes them B tier. Like, maybe I might move Ashe up or down. The thing is with Ashe is, like, again, macro isn't too difficult. You hit big dynamites, you don't really, you reposition and you CC with your coach gun. Bob isn't too difficult to really use at a very baseline level. I mean, all these characters are going to be hard at a very top, like at the top level. I think Ashe is pretty simple to understand, though. She's a lot like Ana, where it's like, you just aim, you shoot. And when the comp is good for Ashe, you shoot with the Mercy, and I mean, obviously that's difficult to be really, really good at. But in terms of like the combination of everything, I don't know. I don't see it. Baptiste, honestly, I'm gonna put Baptiste in S tier. Now, okay, a lot of people are getting me flack for this. Baptiste is so broken. All my people in my support games, I only avoid supports because all support players are bad. Well, I mean, here's the thing. With Baptiste, Immortality Field is not an easy thing to grasp in terms of when you use it, when you really need to be using it, threat levels, putting it around corners. It's not an easy thing to do. Is it overtuned? By all means, and that kind of makes up for how hard the character really is. I believe, maybe we put him like high A tier. I think Baptiste is unironically one of the hardest characters in the game because, there's so much you can do. You can maximize your APM with cycles. Do you even need to maximize your APM, or do you need to focus on more focused damage to make sure you kill someone? Making sure you don't heal before the fight, making sure your immos are right, making sure your windows are in good spots. I think it's harder than Ana. I mean, Ana, all you hit your shots, you look for big anti-nades, you look for sleeps. I mean, it's very fundamental and easy to understand, I think. Meanwhile, Baptiste, you put a new player on Baptiste, they're just going to be throwing that immortality field around like it's willy-nilly. Or they're going to see a critical target and be like, oh, I got ammo. That's not necessarily the case. I think Baptiste is one of the harder characters. I might move him down A tier, but I think the problem is that we can't really see how difficult he is when you have character, like when the character's just so busted and you have Brig to help him with. But again, it doesn't really factor into how easy or hard the character is in terms of overtuned. It's just harder to see that way. Bastion, man, I don't want to put him D tier because Bastion's honestly kind of difficult. In the right scenario, he's difficult. I might move him down. I might move him down to D tier, but I think I'm gonna put him in hard C tier. Bastion himself as a character, in terms of the mechanics, aren't too difficult from a baseline level. He's very easy to pick up. You point, you shoot. Yeah, you're doing the thing. To play him at a high level, I think it's really hard to pull off, and then that can make it really difficult in terms of getting it to C tier. I think he's one of the easier characters, but to be really good, I mean, I don't know if I could really put any character in D tier. I mean, like, all these characters are difficult. Brig's one of those characters that I'm probably gonna get flack for. I think Brig is middle B tier in terms of difficulty. I think in terms of her mechanics, she is incredibly easy. The micro for Brig, so easy. You bash things, you pack, you don't need to aim, you whip shot every now and then, every 4 seconds. I don't think mechanically she's difficult. I think why she's in B tier and not in D tier is because the macro understanding of the game that you need to have to play Brig at a very high level is a lot more difficult than some of these other characters that's just like, yeah, point shoot. People say that Brig's really easy. I don't think she is. I think she's kind of middle of the pack because for what lack you can have micro, you make up for that in the macro. But I might move her up or down. Not quite sure yet. Let's keep moving on here, though. Doomfist, easily in S tier. I mean, he might be the hardest character in the game, in my opinion. I mean, I know I'm going to get flack from this. I can already think Maggio, one of our mods. He's going to be like, no, dude, Doomfist is so easy. I mean, sure, maybe at the lower levels he can punch, but, like, when you have Brig in the game, Cassidy in the game, all these hit scan, I don't know. I think to master Doomfist is enough to really put him in the S tier. Maybe not the hardest character in the game, but when you see people like Quakedon, Zebra, I mean, even Symmetra when he plays Doomfist, dude, I don't know. I guess I should go Brandito, Chipsa, all those people. The reason why those people are big is because it's entertaining to watch someone try to master this character. Like, it's difficult. It's arguably more difficult than Genji. Arguably. Because there's just so many combos that you can go off. There's so many weird parkour things you can do. Like, the greatest respect to get Quaked on, honestly, for all the... I mean, shout out to him. I don't know if you guys know him. If I remember, I'll link him in the description. You probably already know him. But, like, that guy... nuts at Doomfist. And if Doomfist was even an ounce good, I think they would all be at least 4, 4, 4, 5. I mean, Medallion also. Gotta get that Penn State pride, you know. Came from Penn State. Doomfist player, very good. Diva. Ooh, I think I'm going to put Diva bottom 8 tier around where Brig is. Again, not super hard mechanically. I mean, there are a lot of hard mechanics actually to it, so I might actually put it middle of 8 tier. It's not as easy as Brig mechanically, but the things that you can do as Diva are, like, you can do a lot or you can do a little. And to be really good at Diva, you need to be really strong in the character. I don't think it's easy to pull off because, again, it's that macro understanding with a little bit of micro in there, which is why I think I like Diva as a character. Maybe not as impressive as she is now, but, you know. Echo. Ooh, Echo's just one of those characters, man. I think I'm going to put Echo above Ana, just a little bit. I don't think I can quite put her S tier because I think she's really easy to pull off when you're new. In terms of, like, beams or, like, right clicks, you can easily get a lot of value out of it. But to play her at a top level without a mercy, easily one of the hardest characters in the game to be really good at, because you need to know how everything interacts, because you also need to know what to copy. There's a lot of macro that kind of is involved with that. Same thing kind of with Genji. I might move Genji actually a little bit below the Echo, just because I think Doomfist is like Genji, but really a lot more like tech-based, while Genji is more mechanic-based. I think to pull off Genji, it's still extremely difficult, but the problem with Genji is not that his kit is hard to understand or hard to master compared to some of these other characters. It's the fact that Genji just sucks. Genji's just a bad character. I mean, he's just a bad character because of everyone that surrounds him. I mean, that's the same reason why Ana has been struggling so much recently, is because, like, the characters that surround Ana are just don't make Ana really playable. I mean, maybe I would move Genji and Echo up to S tier. I mean, I honestly might by the end of we have a lot of heroes to go through, but I mean, I think that there's just harder characters than Genji, and the reason why Genji doesn't pop off is because, well, Genji just isn't good into the game right now, and I wish it was different. I wish Brig wasn't so oppressive, but, you know, here we are. Hanzo. I really want to put Hanzo D tier. I'm going to be completely honest. I want to put Hanzo in D tier, but I might have to move him up C tier. Here's the thing. If I put Hanzo D tier, Bastion goes D tier. And you know what? We're going to do this. We're going to put Hanzo and Bastion. No, I can't do that, man. I can't do that. We'll put Hanzo Bastion C tier for now, and then we'll move things around. Hanzo, you don't have to be good at aiming for Hanzo at lower levels. Of course, at higher levels, everyone needs to aim. The thing with Hanzo is his entire kit is just a lot of BS. Storm arrows, sonar. You don't even need to really think about it. You just put it on a wall, and then you're getting value out of it. I don't think Hanzo is really difficult. I think he's really overtuned, and it makes him even easier. Is he as easy as Bastion? Honestly, I think Bastion might be harder than Hanzo. I mean, maybe not. It depends on the meta and depends on the map, which is why I think I'm going to put it that there. But let's move on here. Junkrat. This is one of those characters I really don't want to put any character D tier. I don't believe any character is like fundamentally super easy. I think Junkrat's honestly one of the harder ones to pull off. I think his basic playstyle, the way he was meant to be played by the devs in terms of just spamming and like just spam nades and stuff, I don't think it's difficult, but like it's just not good. But then you look at people like Aquamarine that just pop off and it's like they are actually nuts. Like it's so hard to be that good. But I don't, from a fundamental level, I think everyone can kind of see, yeah, Junkrat's he's not the hardest character in the game, but like to be that good, I mean, it's gonna be S tier difficulty to be that good at any character, you know? I think from a baseline value though, and just thinking of the macro understanding of Junkrat, it's like he's just kind of a cheesy character. So, you know, cheesy is not that hard. You just kind of pull it off. So Lucio, man, he might go S tier. I kind of want to wait. I want to wait for Lucio to the end because I kind of want to see where the list pans out. Lucio's either S tier or like B or A. It depends on the meta. Cassidy easy use, dude, guys. If there's a D tier, you know, we're just gonna put it for Cassidy. Cassidy is not a hard character, dude. You need to aim, sure. You need to aim. At least with Ashe, like Dynamite, you need to hit big dynamites, you know. Cassidy is... And let's just put Soldier in here too. Cassidy and Soldier are just like the easiest to understand in this entire game. Like, you run around... Maybe we'll switch these tiers up because maybe like needing to aim is like a C tier trait. But like, it's the lower echelon here. You know, yeah, let's do that. And arguably, I think Soldier's a little bit harder than Cassidy. Cassidy, you literally just need to sit there with your team, shoot, and if you can stun thing, you stun thing. High Noon is just zoning ult. Roll is busted. Like, 225, by the way. I don't think Cassidy is a hard character. I think, yeah, you need to aim, so, like, that's a thing. But, like, you know... I don't know. I don't think it's too difficult. I'm gonna probably get some hate from DPS players in the comments. I don't care. Whatever, dude. Let's keep going here. Mei, I'm gonna put B tier. To get value out of Mei, you have to have a really good macro understanding of the game. You also need to be able to aim icicles and understand where to locate walls and stuff. Honestly, Maiko might be up one, and she's kind of like a Brig character. Like mechanically, I don't think she's too difficult. Besides like walls and maybe icicles from range. But to get really good value out of her, like, you know, it's really difficult. I'm gonna put her top B tier. Mercy, yeah, okay. I haven't made a Mercy guide yet, so maybe I'm in the clear, and maybe none of my subscribers are like hardcore Mercy mains, but like, Mercy fundamentally is an easy character. Now here's the thing, any character on this list to be Masters level with, or even Diamond level with, it's going to be like, it's going to be hard. I'm just saying, in terms of a pick up and play, Mercy, there's no mechanics required. In terms of any aim, I mean, you need some aim, I guess, so that you're not like all over the place, but it's not super difficult. Flying, like, in terms of the macro, if we're talking strictly macro here, like maybe you move it up to C tier, but I think just the pure ease of just getting value by just existing as Mercy is real. And I think she might be the easiest character. Might. Moira, kind of a close second, in the sense that her macro is hard-ish. I mean, resource management is a thing too. But, like, getting base value out of Moira isn't too difficult. I mean, I think honestly, a Cassidy player is going to be a little more flexible and be able to understand the game better than a Moira player. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, then there's Nolan. I mean, there's like super jump summers. You're like, sure, that's not an easy thing to pull off, but you know, I digress. Arisa, again, one of those tanks. I think, honestly, kind of in the lower echelon of things, dude. Like, you just kind of put shield down, you pull, you bongo. I mean, sure, you need to aim. Maybe we'll put her up to C tier. You need to aim to be good at Arisa. And I mean, there are some like things you need to understand in terms of the macro, but like that kind of goes for any character. Like, I think Arisa's macro is really easy. Like, you are going to play to spam in the current state of Arisa. So, I mean, if you watch this, like, maybe a month or two down the line and you have access to closed beta and you know what the rework is, because I don't know what that is at the time of the recording, which is March 14th. I don't know what that rework is, so maybe she'll be more difficult. But in the current Overwatch 1 build, the pull, it's not difficult. It's a lot of just like you sit back, you spam. There is no brawl element most of the time, but sometimes she is running brawl, and then she's a little more difficult. So maybe C tier is, I think C tier is realistic. Pharah, I'm gonna have to put a little bit above. Ooh, yeah, I think I'm gonna put her B tier because Echo is just really strong right now, and with the state of hit scan, I think Pharah is difficult, but I feel like she's very much just a mechanical character. The whole, you know, I actually might put it at A tier because there's a reason why Pharah players exist and why there are known Pharah players. I mean, the projectile is hard to master. Besides that, there isn't a whole lot of macro, I guess, involved with it. I mean, there is probably some macro involved with it, but I'm not a Pharah player by any means, so I'm not super in touch with that. I think she's difficult to pull off in the current meta because, especially on PC, when people can hit their shots, hit scan can kind of make her life miserable, as well as Diva. I think she's just very difficult to pull off. I mean, that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. Reaper, again, one of those characters. I think I'm going to put it above Junkrat. Maybe above Hanzo too. Might actually put it C tier. The thing is with Reaper is like, the mechanics of Reaper, again, very easy, not very difficult to pull off, but the macro of understanding of what to do on Reaper and when to flank or when to play with the brawl, I guess that's, I don't know, I gotta, it's the same thing as Moira. It's just Moira if she was a DPS. Don't get me wrong, it's incredibly difficult to pull off Reaper when you're playing in metas where like he's not very strong. But current build of Reaper, you know, I don't see it as super difficult mechanically or just playing it because when Reaper's in brawl, like I can play Reaper, guys. I'm not gonna be the best Reaper, but I can still play him and play at a pretty high level. I'm not like Drifter or anyone that's like, I'm not like Crazy Cat, but you know, I think he's an easier character to at least grasp from the start. Reinhardt, I mean, I'll get flamed for this, but I'm gonna put him B tier. I think Reinhardt is the most respectable character, in my opinion. He's not like too hard, but he's not too easy. He's just a solid character. I mean, Rein 1v1, it is like the one thing left in Overwatch 2 that's going to like feel good if there's a Rein v1 matchup. Like the Rein v Rein matchup will still always be the Rein v Rein matchup, the MTD. Here's the thing. In terms of mechanics for most tanks, I don't think Reinhardt is nearly as hard as compared to like Monkey or like Ball. I think those characters are much harder to pull off than Reinhardt, but the Reinhardt macro is still like, the mind game is like notable in terms of like, I would put it honestly S tier. I don't want to make it too inflated though. I think that Reinhardt is a very respectable character, and if you play Reinhardt, good shit. Roadhog, okay. Guys, I hate Roadhog. Here's the thing. You do have to aim on Roadhog, and it's like you're either popping off or you're not on Roadhog, and Roadhog is not hard to understand. You walk around and you hook. He's literally the hit scan play style. I honestly think Arisa is harder than Hog. I honestly do, because as Arisa, you still have to understand the macro fundamentals. Hog, you literally just walk around and get picks. Honestly, on Hanzo land and with all of these people, they're easy characters to pull off. Sigma, I'm gonna have to put at bottom B tier. I don't know. Sigma's kind of hard in a sense, but I don't think he's nearly as hard as Reinhardt and May to pull off. I think his basic understanding, in terms of macro, it's very difficult when you get to higher levels because you know when to take an off angle, when to play with your team. But from a face value, I mean, you have a shield, you have a stun. I think he's a pretty easy pickup. I mean, for me, it's difficult for me to be like, yeah, he's an easy pickup because I played him when I had already been playing Overwatch for like 3 years. Or I don't even know when he came out. Maybe it was year 4 he came out. I was already playing the game a bunch before that happened, so I can't really tell you how easy or hard that character is at release, but I would assume that new players probably have a pretty easy time with Sigma. Sombra, I kind of want to put S tier. I think micro-wise is really difficult to pull off because she doesn't really do a whole lot of damage unless your aim is really solid. You need to know when it's time, where to put your translocators, what to hack. The macro understanding alone of Sombra I think is really difficult for most players to grasp, which is why I'm going to put her as one of the more difficult characters in the game. I think there's just too many things you have to understand as Sombra for her to be an easy character. Maybe I'm inflating her difficulty a bit, but I think she's one of the harder characters, especially in ladder for most players. Like, this is for most players. I think she's going to be pretty difficult. If it was for professionals, all of the characters that are mechanically hard would be at the top because they kind of understand that macro understanding. I would assume so. Symmetra I'm going to put above. Here's the thing. Symmetra is hard to pull off, and there's a lot that you need. She's kind of like Sombra in a way, but I think she's easier to pull off because it's easier to understand when you're getting value on Symmetra and when you're not, compared to Sombra when it's like you're getting value but you're not killing. You're just existing, but you're existing in a good way. So like, good job. In terms of Symmetra, it's a little harder to kind of understand where you're going with it and what's going on with it. But I think it kind of warrants her in a B tier. You have to be able to track, but you also have to understand level 3 beam and like telling your team when to go in and also when to teleport. I mean, you can't just willy-nilly put your teleporter anywhere. You need to make sure that you're rotating with your team effectively. Torbjorn, for that matter, I don't want to put him in Hanzo. I honestly think the builders are B tier because you need to be able to aim as Torb, but you also need to understand where to put your turret, when to overload, when you're kind of throwing on Torb. I mean, I guess that doesn't really matter because you could be throwing on all these characters, but I think Torb is a difficult character in a sense. I think the turret, yeah, it gives him intrinsic value, but it's not enough to really warrant you playing anything else. Here, I need to turn this down. This is really loud. I don't really think Torb is like a free pick. Like, compared to Soldier and Cassidy, you can literally pick up and play those characters. Like, they're not difficult. You do need to aim, though. God forbid. I mean, you need to aim and play an FPS game. Wow. But the thing is like Torb, you also need to aim that primary gun, and it's not easy. It's a projectile. So, I mean, honestly, it might be even more difficult than Sim. And also the macro is kind of difficult. So, you know what? We actually might put this above Brig. Because I'll put Brig in the middle just because I think Brig's a little harder than Sim. But like Torb, I think Torb might even be harder than like Ryan May even. He might be an A tier, but he's a difficult one to kind of grasp. Tracer. Oh man. We're gonna do it. We're gonna move Echo and Tracer up. I firmly believe this. I think both of those characters are amongst the hardest characters to play in the game. To be a good Tracer is so difficult. I honestly think I put it above Echo. I feel like, I mean, there's so many fantastic Tracer players, but even like decent Tracer players you could put 2,000 hours in Tracer and you'd still like need to do a lot of work for that character. I've seen Rocket play. If you guys, I mean, I feel like if you've been around the community a while, you probably know who Rocket is. Fantastic teammate that I used to play with. He's in Contenders now. Tearing it up on Tracer. He's going to go to Overwatch League when he's 18 for Tracer. Tracer alone. I mean, the dude's nuts at Tracer, and it is so difficult to get that good at Tracer, and you can't just pick her up, in my opinion. I just don't think you can. You need to understand way too much to be solid in that character. I want to put Widow C tier, but I know I'm going to get flack for it. I'm going to put her bottom B tier. All you need to do is Widow's aim. She's a pretty easy pick up and play character. The thing is that you need to be better at aiming than if you were playing Cassidy or Soldier here. Because you need to be hitting headshots. So like, it's difficult, but that's like the one thing you need to understand. There are some other intricacies, but like, so do these characters. They also have intricacies. I think the aiming is just harder. Like you can get penalized more than if you're like Soldier or Cassidy and can't aim. Man, I think Winston's honestly S tier. One of the hardest. Is he the hardest character in the game? I don't think so. I think I put Monkey. Maybe I put Monkey A tier. I don't know. Monkey and Ball are kind of in the same domain. I think I'm gonna put Ball. I'm gonna put Ball in A tier. I'm gonna put Monkey in bottom S tier. The reason why, you can get punished a lot harder if you're not good at Monkey as compared to Ball. Because Ball, you still have that opportunity to get out. Whereas as Winston, once you're in, and you kind of need to understand when you can and cannot go. I think it's really difficult to find a really good Winston player. And there's a lot of weird like juggling mechanics. Honestly, he might be the hardest character in the game. I honestly might put him right below Doomfist. Because Ball, you can still get out. Like, there's still a lot of like things that are like, okay, you get a second chance. There are no second chances as Winston. You either are good or you're not. Like, it's just that simple. You're either popping off or you're not. Ball, you have other chances. I'm not going to keep repeating myself. Zarya, I'm going to put... I think I might put her top C tier. I mean, the aiming's important in the bubble. Like, it's literally Soldier with a few extra steps. That's what I would say Zarya is. I mean, in double bubble, obviously it's really difficult. But, I mean, Soldier and dive sometimes can be difficult because you need to know when to flank. From a very standstill value, I mean, I think Zarya is just Soldier with a few extra steps. I think that's the perfect way to understand it. Zenyatta, it depends on the composition. If we're talking Zen Brig, easily one of the harder characters to play if you don't know what you're doing. If we're talking Spam, easily one of the easier characters you want to play. So I'm going to put him kind of with the Brig here. I think, yeah, you need to aim, but you also like need to value your life. It depends on the composition. That's why I'm going to put him in just the middle. Because I don't think it's super, super difficult. In some compositions, Zen Brig, that's a different story. And last but not least, we're going to look at Lucio. I'm going to put Lucio next to Ana. I think Lucio's unironically harder than Ana. Because you still need to aim. You need to understand movement. You know what? No, we're going to put him S tier. I think Lucio's one of the hardest characters. In Brawl, it's not super hard. But when you're talking, like, compositions that you shouldn't be playing Lucio... Like, most compositions that other... Like, maybe 6-man... Obviously, at a macro level, you could just speed, and that's fine. Okay, maybe we do take him down a little bit. Because, I mean, from a pickup standpoint, you can just speed, and, you know, that's fine. But when you look at, like, flanking and, like, trying to get picks and Reddit Lucioing, I think Reddit Lucio is really difficult and is what's going to put him in this A tier. Is this definitive? I would say this is a pretty decent tier list. I mean, obviously, some people are going to mauled. But I think this is pretty good. I might make some changes on Twitter afterwards because I don't want to make this too long of a video. But I mean, is Doomfist the hardest character in the game? I think he's up there. I mean, any of these characters could really be the hardest. I think Tracer, you could really argue, is the hardest. Before we end off the video, let's actually reorganize this top. I think Tracer number 1. That's pretty much a given. I think Baptiste on the lower end of S tier. I think Monkey comes in close second. And all these characters kind of tie. I think Echo, when she's not the one that's getting pocketed, difficult, but because she can't get pocketed, I'll put it here. I think Doomfist, okay, I think this is pretty solid. I mean, all of these characters could really contend for S tier. I think Tracer or Monkey, definitely S tier hardest. Doomfist, close second. I don't know, what do you guys think? If you have any comments, leave them in the comments. I mean, let me know in the comments below. I think this is a pretty good list, but I'm interested in hearing what you guys think. So please let me know. If you didn't make it this far, thank you so much for watching. It's a very long video, but I think it's an interesting one. So, I mean, let me know what you guys all think. If you want to see more tier lists and what you want to see them on, maybe for Overwatch 2. Yeah, but until next time, I gotta peace out and pass out. I'll see you in the next one.